thanks to everyone for joining us today. Mark and I are very excited to be here and talk about what it means to elevate your MSP security practice with a unified security platform. As far as the agenda goes, really you've got a couple of great resources to share some information with you. We're going to be talking a lot about you and what we know about MSPs and what MSPs are trying to do. And Mark has all the experience as our Senior Director of Channel and Field Marketing to really share some amazing insights that he's gotten from his own encounters as well as from a lot of constituents that report on these trends. And then I'm going to join in and talk a little bit about what really a unified security platform is and how it can help you achieve the goals that you're aiming for as an MSP. Ultimately, we want to make sure that we're able to address this one trend. We put this in the invitation for the webinar, and that is that the lack of a unified security strategy is the #1 reason organizations fall victim to a ransom attack. We think a unified strategy is really the way that is going to get us to a modern security delivery model starting now and moving into the future. And so with that, I will turn things over to Mark, who will talk about MSPs.
Thank you, Tracy. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay, and we have a good start to this webinar. It looks like we do, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to go over a little bit of an MSP primer. You can go ahead and hop to the next slide, Tracy, please. Many of you know this information. Many of you have lived through this process. There may be some of you who have not, but let's just sort of go through this so we can have a baseline to start with. So when we look at managed security services, this particular graphic that you're looking at here was actually developed back in 2019, and it has stayed consistent up until today. WatchGuard uses this model to discuss where a partner, where an MSP, a service provider, might be on the continuum with respect to their security services. And I want to go through the basis of this because it will all come together with what Tracy has to show you in a unified security platform and the benefits of a company that puts a platform together for you and allows you to work within it to provide better services and to be more cost effective to your customer base. So if you take a look at this graphic, we start left to right and we go the security provider as a particular type of a managed service provider. That's about 70% of service providers today. As you move across the graphic, we have about 20% of service providers that sit within a security manager position. And then lastly, about 10% sit in the security owner position. We're going to break those down into some detail for you on the next slide, please, and show you what that actually looks like. So when you take a look at managed services capabilities within each of those 3 positions, we put them into this columnar format to help you understand a little bit about where you might be or where you might want to go. When you look at the security provider in the blue section, you set up an MSP infrastructure which defines processes with some automation. You provide customer pass-through security with services and licenses, as well as renewal management. Your security services gross margin, however, remains in about the 10 to 15% position, but it's quick to get to market. Your ROI shows up very quickly in under 6 months. Because the investment level is small and because it's easy to sell these services to your customer base, a lot of the service providers stay within this section. But as you move to the right, you'll see that the security manager actually has the ability to increase gross margins by creating repeatable processes which reduce cost and increase profitability using RMM and PSA tools to be able to manage the customer base, build the customer base, and understand what they're doing while becoming a single consistent provider using a consistent core of products into that customer base. That allows you to increase the gross margin from about 25 to 35% over the 10 to 15% in the previous example. It does take a little longer to get there though, about 6 to 18 months. At the very high end of the spectrum is the security owner. This is where you become what's essentially the security arm of any of your customer base. That also increases your gross margin, which is what every MSP is looking for in their business model, but it takes about 2+ years to get there. There's a lot more that goes on, including creating a SOC or finding a SOC partner to work with, and fully deploying RMM and PSA environments. It's your choice where you want to sit in this continuum. It's our opportunity here and our responsibility to help you move to where you want to go and build platforms to get you there. Next slide, please, Tracy. I talked a little bit about profitability, and it's very interesting over the last few years, and it again has not changed. If we take a look at what the most critical investments are for MSPs, way at the top is technical staffing. Sales and support staffing comes in pretty close, and then capital expenditures. If you're doing a NOC or a SOC and you're building something in-house. As you go down the list, it becomes less of an investment. But that technical staffing number becomes really critical, especially as you move through the continuum of managed services. So the more you can have repeatable services and repeatable sales into a customer and those customers that you service, your technicians are doing repetitive actions. Those repetitive actions don't require new learning, and it increases the profitability. So as your customer base goes up, your costs remain relatively flat as you go higher into that MSP space. Next slide, please. So there are some success factors when you take a look at your MSP business. And these we've broken down into 3 categories. Building client relationships by delivering value is number 1. You become the source of knowledge for all things security. You are the trusted advisor to your customers. You're protecting the clients from not only their current threats, and maybe some of them come to you because they've had problems in the past with ransomware, but you're also there to help with future threats. And that allows you to constantly come in, evaluate their security needs, and take a look at how you can measure yourself so you can provide that back to your customer base. Customer satisfaction indexes, SLA performance, even average time to response. All of those things mean something to a client, and you can provide that to them by delivering this level of value. Secondarily, you need to protect your bottom line and your cash flow. That is the heartbeat of any business. So you need to reduce your security complexity, however you may do that. We've talked for years about reducing the vendor stack. We'll look at a little bit of that today, but it's also about increasing automation. And how do you use a single platform to enable efficiency and scale? You know, it's funny, ConnectWise came along years ago and people jumped on ConnectWise, similarly with Kaseya, because they saw that there was this repeated effort that they could automate through these systems and saw profitability and allowed them to grow their business. This is very similar with respect to what's going on in the security space today. How do you reduce your capital expense? How do you keep your operating expenses in check? In fact, does your vendor even help you in creating an opportunity for you to buy and sell product or buy and sell services the way you sell to your customer? Again, increasing profitability. That takes us to number 3, profitable revenue streams and expanding wallet share. You need to consider how to be flexible and how to offer innovative security solutions that fit any client environment. Even though it is very similar for you as an MSP, you can take that similarity and move it into a variety of client environments. Do they want monthly recurring revenue? Do you want monthly recurring revenue? Do you want to have a lifetime value on your client? How do you measure these things? We always look at gross margin, but MRR and client lifetime value are other ways to measure whether you're being effective in that space. Next graphic, please, Tracy. So I'm going to go through 3 pieces of this for you today. So let's take a look at the summary of support MSPs want from their vendors. Let's look at operating efficiency first. Pricing. Pricing always comes into play because pricing always allows you to understand what your profitability is. How can you buy it and how can you sell it? If you have a vendor that allows you to do consumption-based purchasing, which is how you sell it, what a great opportunity that is for you to engage with that vendor. Can you integrate into the PSA and RMM tools? Are there APIs available? Does the vendor make it easy for you to do that, etc.? We can go through a variety of the operating efficiencies, but those are 2 of the major ones. Next graphic. Look at what your market differentiation is and how can your vendor help you get there. So there are a set of product features with simple admin tools, reducing your time, but providing a very clear security opportunity to your client base? Can you set up contracting? And do you have variable pricing or flexible pricing available to manage that model for you and your customers? And does your vendor even help you identify target markets? We look at WatchGuard, we look at vertical markets all the time. We have a variety of MSPs out there that focus on a variety of vertical markets and some that just focus on a single vertical market. And that's where they have made their mark. And they have become the expert within that space. And does the vendor offer you a variety of marketing tools to be able to go after that market? And are they there to help you do that? Next graphic. Lastly, how are you looking at customer lifecycle velocity, and how is your vendor looking at that with you? Is there cloud migration acceleration going on within the vendor community that you're working with so that you don't have to increase your capital expense by bringing hardware on site? Is it now available out in the cloud as a much reduced cost structure? And is there market demand and visibility for the value of those managed services that the vendor is offering and you can take to market as well? So before I hand it over to Tracy, I've got one more 3-point slide we can take a look at, and that is, what are the 3 vendor success factors that you can look for with your vendor community? Tracy, next slide. Number 1, can you create vendor consolidation through a unified platform? It's not enough just to reduce the number of vendors you have. It's also important that when you select those vendors to go with it, they have a platform that will allow you to manage effectively, manage quickly, and manage profitably for your business and then down to your customers. Second, are there flexible payment schedules available? Is the vendor willing to adjust their business model to help you buy and sell products? And third, do they have a profitable partner program that will allow you to grow your business through that program and increase discounts, increase rebates, and all of the other things that go along with a very profitable partner program? Take a look at all of your vendors and see if they have those 3 things available to you, like WatchGuard does. Tracy, to you.
Actually, you have a couple more.
Oh, sorry, they're not in my other deck. I apologize. Let me just do one real quick for you. So I talked about the partner program. Most of you know about WatchGuard 1. WatchGuard 1 is our partner program, and we have built this program that is not based on volume, but is based on value. Our goal is to have the best trained and the best go-to-market partners in the business. And the more that you train and the more products that you become trained on, the better discount you get. We are always a 100% channel-focused business. We invest in you because you are our extended sales team, and we really want to build a partnership with you and hope you want to build one with us as well. If you want to have any more conversations on WatchGuard 1 or figure out how you can accelerate your business, we're always ready to help you. You can go to our website, check out the WatchGuard 1 pages, click on the box, put in your information. We will call you right back.
Mark, did you want to go ahead and go through these next few that are some of the Pulse results?
Sure,
From
I
the
can do
surveys
that.
we've done? Yeah.
No problem at all. So Pulse is an organization that we work with. They talk to managed service providers and resellers partners all the time. They allow us to ask questions of that community as well. And what we find is some incredible responses from that organization. Let's just take a look at a few. So 95% in one of the polls that Pulse did says that MSPs believe their team loses productivity and efficiency switching between different product interfaces to manage their client security. What does that mean? That means that every time your technicians have to switch from one platform to another, they have to learn a different interface, they have to learn a different model of what the responses are through the reporting mechanisms, and it takes time to do that. You're either going to have to hire more people that specialize on specific products, or you're going to have to look at reducing that vendor stack to be able to increase productivity and increase profitability. Next slide. This other one is interesting as well. 91% of MSPs believe that cloud-based solutions and single pane of glass are required to productize services. I don't think there's anybody on this call that would disagree with this slide. This is something we hear all the time. Can I manage everything from, we call that a single pane of glass, but essentially it is, can I manage all of my customers' products, everything that I have that I am responsible for from anywhere in the globe? Can I do it from home? Can I do it from the train? Can I do it in the office? Can all of my technicians be able to see what's going on within our client base to be able to hit those SLAs, hit those requirements, and get the best customer satisfaction ratings from our customers, things we should all be measuring. I think that as WatchGuard moves forward, we are listening very attunely to our MSPs and driving every day to not only get here, but to get beyond this into a better environment for everybody. Next graphic. This is another very interesting one. This was asked a little while back, but it was really focused on vendor consolidation. As MSPs realized that having multiple vendors and multiple interfaces, I don't care whether they're cloud interfaces, single pane of glass interfaces, you have multiple interfaces to manage, that if you can consolidate your vendors, then you will be able to create profitability and better go to market. 96% of MSPs absolutely agreed with this and are already starting to plan that process, and I'll bet all of you are as well. We're going to help you get there. Next graphic. So when you take a look at the MSP community, 81% considered management and configuration from a single pane of glass a unified security platform, but only 19% also include sharing security insights across products and automated response. Important. When you take a look at a company like WatchGuard, WatchGuard has been in this business for over 25 years, and all we do is security. Every product that we introduce into the marketplace is related to security. It's why you won't find us selling any switches. You won't be selling any routers. We are a security company. We make sure that all of those products can talk to each other and understand what they're doing to provide increased insight for our MSPs through a single pane of glass, through automated response systems to allow you to provide a better security solution for all of your customers, which will allow you to bring on more and more customers through that ease of automation. Tracy?
Okay, thank you, Mark. So here, I mean, what's the point of all of this? We've been studying you. We know what MSPs are trying to do. We're hopefully in there. You've heard some things that resonated with you that ultimately match your goals, your objectives, where you're trying to reach. And we've been looking at that alongside our just basic what's happening in security in order to drive to what we think needs to happen in the next evolution of security. And that's it. That is that we need unified security, that this is an essential piece of what's going to help you achieve some of the goals and move your business to where you want it to be that Mark has been talking about earlier. But we have a specific way of thinking about unified security. So I want to spend a little time just explaining that. In particular, the last survey result that Mark shared that said only 19% of MSPs really saw sharing knowledge as being something that ultimately was included in unified security. That was very telling to us that when we talk about unified security, a lot of people out there are just thinking it's consolidation in a web platform of some kind. And we really have a different view because we think in order to solve some of the challenges you're facing, you need more than that. And that's what we're going to talk about right here. So first, I want to talk about what really the problem is. What's really going on in the world that is making it hard in some ways to be an MSP and honestly to be a company trying to operate in today's environment. And one of the things is that we have a scalability issue. No matter where you go and trying to deliver security, we've just seen over time, we're seeing acceleration in the number of environments. Some of them may be private cloud or public cloud or hybrid or wireless. We're seeing the number of users that need to be addressed on a network and in an environment and ultimately with security grow and grow. You know, it's not just employees, it's remote employees, it's vendor representatives, sometimes it's the public. And then ultimately the number of devices are exploding. It used to be that you just had a laptop or even a desktop back in the olden days, maybe when I was around, that you had to worry about operating on a LAN environment, and now you've got all kinds of mobile devices. I think they're talking about the number of devices that people carry or wear on themselves are like something around 7 now per person. So all of that is creating a scalability issue for all of us, for you as MSPs, for us as providers of security technology. And what is challenging is that ultimately most MSPs running into kind of find these challenges, right? They're having trouble with oversight in terms of trying to address all of these users and devices and environments, that they're fragmented and with multiple management solutions, or sometimes missing SIM feeds, things don't integrate well. Sometimes they're dealing with specialized solutions. So like Mark talked about, you know, vendor consolidation is a thing, because ultimately trying to address all the places where you need to insert security, and some of them come from vendors that only deliver that. It's a point product. That creates a problem in terms of the cost structure that you're working with, how you train people, and ultimately can compromise security if those leave blind spots. And then the last thing is, it's not just about security. It's also about security delivery and how that happens. And you need to have automated solutions. And so right now there's a lot of restrictive business terms. There's sometimes some friction. You know, you would like for your security services to be delivered in a consistent manner with how you're delivering them to your end customers. And so we need to make that better to address kind of the current environment. And it's hard to do given this. So where we are, you know, as WatchGuard, we looked at all this and said, ultimately, the platforms that existed in the past aren't addressing the future needs, right? That they're not providing things like seamless oversight or comprehensive security. Shared knowledge is a huge piece of what you need to deliver security now and into the future. Automation and ultimately operational alignment, so that these business terms and the ways that you're engaging with your vendors are aligned well with what you're trying to do. And all of that needs to be a part of a unified security platform. And really the big nugget for you is that you've probably been trying to force security technology to fit your business practices for a long time. And you deserve better, right? And that's what we're here to talk about. So this is what we see as a unified security platform, that ultimately it is a platform that is designed not only to address security, but the delivery of modern security, right? It's not just about, I protected this thing. I protected it in a way that aligns with the MSP business practice, because we see you as ultimately the delivery model for security in an effective way going forward in the future. That your customers want to work with someone locally, that they want to get it as a service because it's hard to understand security sometimes. So you're the answer. And we want to make sure we have a platform that supports what you're trying to do, all those things we learned in Mark's presentation. So we know we need these pieces, and I talked about them in the last slide. And one is clarity and control. I'm going to start there because ultimately it's what everyone seems to think when we talk about unified security, is that everything is under one centralized place, right? It's being managed out of a centralized resource. You're getting reporting and visibility out of a centralized resource. It's shared cloud management. That is definitely a part of what a unified security platform is, but there's so much more. You also need to have a full portfolio. And that's comprehensive security. It's not, if you still have to go to multiple vendors to get the security you need, then it's going to create friction and issues with your delivery model. So it needs to be a full portfolio of security services. You need shared knowledge. I really think this is the big nugget, that at the end of the day, it's not about having management be in a cloud management platform where everything is siloed. If I learned something about a potential attack that happened on the endpoint, sharing that information with your network security may help you be able to find attacks on the network, or ultimately be able to pinpoint where there are problems or assess risk, right? And so we want to make sure that when you have all of these comprehensive security products in one platform, that you're able to share knowledge between them. This is what makes a true XDR-based approach to threat detection and remediation. So it's very, very important as we're all talking about this moving forward. Operational alignment. Those are the things we talked about. You know, you need to be able to feed your SIMs. You need to have integrations to support. It's not only about security, you're running a business. And ultimately we need to make sure we integrate with the tools that you use to run your business and help manage your customers, and make sure you're bringing CSAT in very positive ways to your customers. And so making sure that all of that is aligned through integrations and ultimately through payment consumption models that support your business operations is very important. And the last thing I'll talk about is automation. And notice we put that circle at a different spot. Automation, it has to be inherent in every single part of the unified security platform. It has to be built into shared knowledge. It has to be built into comprehensive security. It has to be a part of clarity and control and operational alignment. And so as we look at a unified security platform moving forward, automation is a key piece. Now, for the next part of this presentation, this is the same diagram, but I just layered in kind of how WatchGuard thinks about things, as opposed to being just a general understanding of what the unified security platform is. And I'm going to use these as an example in the next slide. So I just wanted to kind of lay this out over top, and then we're going to dig in. I'm not going to spend a lot of time right here because we're going to dig into each one a little bit so that you better understand what it means for each of these to really be in place and delivering value to you. And let's start with WatchGuard Cloud. Like I said, for the most part, everyone very quickly comes to the notion that, if you're going to unify security, it's got to be in one management platform. And so that's almost the first thing that we talk about. And so for us, that's WatchGuard Cloud. So what are you looking for in WatchGuard Cloud, or what have we put into WatchGuard Cloud that makes it a unified security platform? And what would you look for in a cloud-based management platform to support the unified security, a unified security platform? And it's these things that we put in there. When you're talking about management, it needs to include the multi-tier and multi-tenant architecture. You are working with clients. You need to have a way to engage and address your client accounts very easily out of one platform, right? So that's got to be a part of the way it's done. You need to quickly enable and disable security services for clients. That needs to be built into the management platform. Again, we're talking about security delivery here, not just how you make things more secure. Zero-touch deployment of network security, MFA, and endpoint security in our case. And then alert fatigue. It's a real thing. We all talk about it. By the way, we experience it in every part of our life, right? I don't care if you get too many emails or too many text messages from people you don't want them from, but ultimately there's fatigue. We know it's real and it's human. And so we want to make sure that we're minimizing that we're using information and intent and kind of risk analysis in the platform to make sure that those are minimized. Alerts are minimized. And then ultimately integrating with RMN and PSA tools, right? That needs to be a part of the security of the cloud-based platform. But that's not all. Visibility has to be a part of it too. So ultimately making sure that WatchGuard Cloud, in our case, WatchGuard Cloud, easily delivers actionable security trends. You're able to monitor security service, efficacy, and generate business compliance and security reports, right? So we have over 100 comprehensive reports, and those need to be able to provide some reviews of each security layer, as well as quickly identify issues and drill down to services, right? That's what visibility is about. How do I get a good big picture of ultimately all this data that we have, so that I can pinpoint where there are problem areas and go be able to at least look into them and ultimately address them. So we want to make sure that the cloud platform has these things to support a unified security platform. In addition, you need to have a comprehensive platform, right? You need to have a comprehensive portfolio of services. And for us, the way we visualize that is it really includes, sorry, network protection. It includes Wi-Fi security, endpoint security, and more than ever now, a lot of focus is on the user, right? Being able to validate and verify users. There's more evidence than ever before that the way that attacks are happening is that people are getting onto networks using credentials that may not be applied to the actual person. So being able to validate a password or that a person entering the network is actually that person is becoming critically important. And then remote access, being able to lock that down is really a part of the services that need to be brought forth from a portfolio. So this is how WatchGuard visualizes our portfolio. Again, we want to bring more than just one thing. You've seen us add over the last, I don't know, 3 to 4 years, a lot of these capabilities as we've built out our platform, and you'll see us continue to do that. as we find areas that we know we need to address and bring in. We have a strong belief that there needs to be a portfolio, comprehensive portfolio of security services behind that. This is interesting. So again, this is another Pulse survey we did. And I bring it up to you because I talked about the user-based services and how quickly those have grown in importance. And when we did a survey, this is late last year, we did a survey of MSPs in the Pulse community. And we asked them what services they were offering. We noticed that less than 50% are offering authentication and identity management. And so I find that interesting. And I bring it here because, like I said, as we've visualized what we think comprehensive security means, it absolutely includes that. If anything, there's been way more importance on it as folks like Salesforce start to require MFA, as industries start to require MFA, or at least strongly recommend, as governments start to recommend MFA into their environments. As again, this has all been, we're seeing much stronger movement towards this, and we know it's a service that companies are going to have to offer, that MSPs are going to have to offer. So we think it absolutely needs to be a part of a comprehensive security portfolio. All right, shared knowledge. This is the next piece of a unified security platform, and I think one of the most critical pieces. So the way that we visualize shared knowledge is by a feature or a part of our platform that we call ThreatSync. ThreatSync is actually a tool that aggregates and distills information from a lot of different data sources. So we feed ThreatSync with data from really a lot of different places, and it creates insights and actually is able to do response actions automatically based upon what it's seeing. And then in some cases, or just if you want it this way, be able to identify where there may be risk areas and where it's higher risk and where it's lower risk, right? And so for us, this is our platform. This is our solution that is really bringing extended detection and response across environments, users, and devices into our platform, into our unified security platform. It's an important part of what we're doing. And actually, it's an important innovation area for us, that this is something that we continue to work on day after day and bring and drive more insights, bring more data in, put more security feeds, and ultimately drive more insights so we can continue to offer really distilled information, right? Here's this thing is actually happening right now. Maybe you want to do something about it too. Here's some risk areas. So this is what when we really talk about correlation, we're talking about ThreatSync and about that shared knowledge, making sure that each piece of your security platform understands what's happening in the other areas. And we think it's critically important for MSPs because being able to get to this level of insight saves your team cycles. If they don't have to spend as much time drilling down and trying to understand the layers of data themselves, that they can address them quickly and increase their accuracy, right? They're not chasing after red herrings, but in fact, really getting into and spending more time efficiently working on real issues. The other piece, and again, these areas for us are both what we've put into place as well as what you'll continue to see, I think, more and more features over the next couple of years. The other piece of our portfolio of our platform that we think is critically important is the WatchGuard identity framework. And this is where we're really getting to a verified, identity, really putting all the pieces into place that ultimately allow security analysts to understand who that person was and allow your security system to grant access with a verified identity, right? So the identity framework is where we start to put those pieces into place. We bring in rules and configurations. We feed the various Active Directory locations you might have, or LDAP. There's reporting that comes out of it, and it's a piece that drives policy management, right? When you are identifying, you're always running that balance between wanting to identify the user and ultimately not wanting to limit productivity on that user. That's a challenging line to draw. You don't want it to be so hard to validate that it becomes a productivity buster. So that's where we're putting more and more insight and intelligence into this WatchGuard identity framework as time goes on, so that you can really identify risk, right? This is a user, we think this is 100% that user, or there's some risk that this may be somebody pretending to be that user. So that's what's available today, and ultimately what's getting built into our WatchGuard identity framework as we move forward in the future. Operational alignment. This ultimately is, we talk about integrations. These are pretty straightforward, right? This is something we're looking at a lot of time, but you want to make sure that we not only have in a unified security platform a robust set of APIs so that really anything can integrate with it, but that also you have a lot of built-in integrations. And so we have more than 140 third-party integrations in our solution. And we've been working very closely with the leading MSP tools and marketplaces. I know Mark talked about ConnectWise and Kaseya. There's lots of others out there that you all are using, the RMMs and the PSAs. So that's something we've been focusing on, delivering more and more capabilities to make sure that it can feed your ultimate environment and enable you to do your work more effectively and transparently. But in addition to that, operational alignment also means that your business transactions, that when you're working with us as a vendor, that we're giving you what you need to support your business model, right? And so you've seen us introduce this over the last couple of years, this notion of FlexPay. And FlexPay for us is really, when you're transacting with us, you choose what works best for your organization. We're not here to choose it for you. But it can be fixed term prepay. That just means kind of what you're most used to. And I'm going to pay for this product and I'm done with that transaction. We have fixed term pay as you go. And this might say, hey, I'm going to buy this product, but I'm going to deliver these services for the next 3 years and I'll pay you monthly, right? For the next 3 years to support it. We also have zero commitment pay as you go. You can just pay month to month. So we try to make sure that you're able to align your costs and your revenue pretty closely so that you can optimize your business operations. And again, this is part of what we know you need as an MSP to have modern security delivery. And it's a part of what ought to be in a unified security platform. Why do we know this? Again, here's our good friend Pulse. This is the same survey that we did at the end of last year. We talked to MSPs and we said, what's most important to you? They very quickly said flexible. The top of the list was flexible payment options, including subscriptions. And then the second thing is the other thing we talked about in the unified security platform, that's the multi-tier, multi-tenant cloud management built for the MSSP business model. So we know they're super important to you. And again, as far as we're concerned, as we look now going into the future, we think these need to be a part of the platform that we've developed. The last thing is automation core. This is, again, a piece of, we've really looked at what it takes to automate processes and practices within security delivery. And we've put those together into a set of features that we call the WatchGuard Automation Core. We're really looking at automating at every level, right? And so things like accelerated detection and response, being able to get those indicators and know what's high priority that you should address right now and what is something that maybe can wait, helps you optimize your hours, right? Sometimes you can build in some automated responses. And so that doesn't even touch your people when you're able to do that, which is great. We are also driving significant savings in staff hours and cost and increased visibility and actionability. So we're seeing really two different things. And one is operational automation. And again, this is talking about how do we, address alert fatigue, right? And make sure that we're bringing you visibility tools and you have reports, and that ultimately you're able to your provision and management. So the provisioning of fireboxes, in our case, the WatchGuard network security appliances, is a big part of, and we use something called rapid deploy, which makes it really easy to get those boxes out there and get them up and running with a pre-configured configuration file that's available to them. That is like operational automation. And then the second thing is really security automation, being able to quickly respond to threats or predict and anticipate, do kind of more threat hunting, threat analysis sort of tools. And so we're looking at all the layers of what it takes to automate and driving those throughout the organization or throughout the platform. And that's what this is really representing, right? That we're looking at all of the areas of our unified security platform and saying, where are some spaces where where are the opportunities to really ultimately drive automation into them? And on operational alignment, we talked about that's automating security management, right? Being able to, sorry, integrate tightly with your PSA and your RMM platforms. Hold on, I'm sporting a bit of a head cold here today. Thank you. You can manage your customers' networks and ultimately streamline end-to-end service management, right? That's what you want, and that's what you're looking for. And we want to be able to feed that and support that with an automated security platform. We want to reduce time to detection, right? And that's what the shared knowledge is. We already talked about that a lot, so I'll move on. Be able to block more threats, right? Both at the gateway with artificial intelligence and even through to the endpoint by providing really a comprehensive platform of security services. And then you'd be able to use artificial intelligence to treat or triage threats, right? These are all pieces that kind of were opportunities for us to automate and make sure that when you're delivering security, it isn't constantly, as there are more threats, just an upward trend to the time that your staff takes trying to track them down, right? We got to drive automation into the platform so that that doesn't continually go up and to the right. Ultimately, this is what lays out, this is how we visualize our unified security platform. It's something that we've been working on over the last 2 years, and you'll see us continue to work on as we continue to find opportunities. But we think it's critically important that these pieces are in place to support MSPs and what they're doing, and ultimately help you reach where you're trying to go with your business, all the way ultimately down to how do I drive more CSAT? How do I drive more gross margin? How do I drive more effectiveness? And how do I drive more solutions and more services I can bring to the market, right? These are the pieces that we've put together to help make that happen. And ultimately, we think it's a differentiating item, right? That as MSPs look at the breadth and the relevance of a portfolio to them, that WatchGuard is, again, looking at the same thing, that we want to bring a complete portfolio of endpoint, multi-factor auth, and network security services, as well as Wi-Fi to the party. As MSPs are saying, we need more ease of administration, we need more automation. Again, WatchGuard Cloud is our centralized security administration resource, so we know that we're bringing that to you in our unified security platform. As you're telling us you want to enable the S in MSSP, that ultimately we're bringing you more security capabilities, right? That we have a platform that allows you to adopt a zero trust security posture with our identity framework and an XDR-based approach with our threat sync capabilities, right? We talked about as part of shared knowledge. And so these are really what it's going to take to be that security provider moving forward into the future. You got to be able to move into these areas and seamlessly and eloquently deliver them as services. Process automation, making sure that you're asking for us to be able to have your people, your precious resource, those people you have that are working on security that are so hard to hire these days and keep at the company, that you make sure that they're not working on grunt work, right? That they're really doing high value added work that ultimately keeps them happy and make sure that they're delivering the most possible value they can deliver. And that's where Automation Core comes in, right? That's about keeping your people working on the right stuff and not just crunching numbers and spending time doing things that are less of a value add. And then business model flexibility. That's the other thing that we hear from our MSPs that they want. And so again, we've talked about that already with our the simplified business operations, so the APIs and the integrations in FlexPay. So this is a big part. All of this has been built into our unified security platform and is really how we see being able to deliver you what you need to support what you're becoming. I'll give you a few examples of ultimately where folks are talking about unified security platform a little bit and they don't realize it. One of them is in zero trust. So we've heard one of this is a pulse survey, but a different one. This is one that we did earlier this year, I think in January. And we actually went out and talked to end users. We said, how are you doing? If you are managing and deploying a zero trust strategy, how's it going? Right? We wanted to understand. One of the things that we learned is they said, It's difficult. It's really hard to do. In particular, the constant administration and monitoring is a problem. Creating and maintaining policies, right? Continuous inspection. It's challenging, right? You need some automation to help you do this. What was really interesting to me is that 4% of the respondents that we talked to said they were working with a managed service provider. And our response, when we set this up, when we kind of share these results, we're like, wow, that seems a really great opportunity to reach out and work with a managed security provider to help you implement a zero-trust strategy and hopefully deal with some of these. And a managed service provider that ultimately is trying to deliver zero trust and working with the unified security platform is just going to have an easier time because of these reasons, because otherwise it is hard. There's a lot of monitoring and management and inspection. You need the automation. You need the comprehensive platform, right? You need the XDR approaches. So again, this is one thing that I thought was interesting, an interesting result that helps lead back to how a unified security platform can really be meaningful to a managed security provider. This is another one. Gartner put out a report here in December, and they pretty much came out and said they're seeing the same. We didn't talk to them, by the way, about this, but they're seeing, consolidated security platforms are the future, right? And they've said ultimately, it used to be that people would promote best in breed, that you'd go out, you'd find point solutions, and you kind of pull them all together. And more or less, Gartner is saying that's not the case, right? That in fact, enterprises are turning more towards unification, right, as an answer, and that they're working with a single vendor's security service edge platform, and that ultimately they are looking now at what vendors are delivering in terms of they're either delivering a platform or they're delivering a portfolio. And it depends on whether these things are integrated and working with each other as to whether or not it's a platform. So again, this is more talk about a unified security platform and how important it is moving forward in the future. So this is a little bit about, again, what WatchGuard has been developing with the unified security platform, how we see this ultimately being able to help you as you move forward in your practices and your programs. But I will say we have a USP brochure for MSPs that lays this out in greater detail and even gives you a great kind of model for profitability as you move forward with this. So this is a great follow-up resource for you after the end of the webinar. And that is all I have for today. Did we have any questions?
We have one in here, Tracy. Do you know what the Pulse web URL is?
Yeah, I think it's www.pulse.qa, I believe.
Okay.
By the way, they got acquired by Gartner. So I think they're only offering, so anyway, I think it'll become a Gartner, but I don't think it has yet. I think it's still www.pulse.qa.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's the only question that I can see in the chat right now. So if there are any other questions folks want to ask, you just plug it right into the chat and we'll try and answer it for you. I don't see anything coming in, Tracy. So I think, oh, there we go. Yeah, somebody just said, thanks, Tom. It goes straight to Gartner. So Gartner has taken over the pulse.qa, so it'll go directly to Gartner.
There you go.
And just because there's a personal note, Mike, you're very welcome. Oh, we got a bunch of thanks. Do you provide socks, Tracy? Do we provide a sock?
We do not. We don't provide a SOC. I think that's the, now that's not to say that I think some of you all are looking at SOCs now and in the future. This is a different topic. I want to, there is more that we have to say about what it takes to create a meaningful SOC and ultimately how we can help to do that. We do have some products that are really built for what we call a professional or a modern SOC that really involves like a good team of security analysts working around the clock. And so there's more to come on that. But at the moment, in terms of you just talking about an outsourced SOC, we don't have that today.
Barry asked a question: is WatchGuard hardware required for the network and Wi-Fi portion of this. I'm assuming he's speaking about the USP environment.
Yeah, yes. I mean, for ultimately, that's the only way we can control it, right? So yes, ultimately it has to be, we've really thought when you're talking about building a platform, you're really looking all the way from the hardware through the software stack and trying to make sure that all of this kind of comes together and you're able to communicate to one another. So I guess, yes, the answer is, does require WatchGuard hardware. Now, having said that, there's great opportunities to trade up or trade in if you have other vendors' hardware, and you're looking to build out a unified security platform with WatchGuard.
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. One last question, or there might be one or two. Is there an expected date when all of the Firebox features will be configurable in the cloud?
Oh, well, maybe we take that one offline because I'm wondering which features. There's so many that are configurable in the cloud now that I'm interested to know which one he's talking about, and maybe we just hook him up with the product manager who can tell him more.
All right. Hey, Tom, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll make sure that we get you the answer, and if it makes sense for everybody else, we'll shoot it out to the group. There was another question. Remote access was mentioned, and also an agentless VPN. That may be another one. We'll need to go to the PM guys unless you have some information on that, Tracy.
No, let's bring that back. So I always want to make sure you're getting the latest and greatest information. So sometimes when you start to get into really detailed product information, I'll just hook you up with the product managers because they'll give you the best answers there.
Perfect. Okay, I think that's all we have for right now. Well, on behalf of me, the guy who's responsible for WatchGuard 1, who helps you all with the field marketing team and field engagement, I want to thank you all for being here today. It's always excellent to have some time to get in front of you. And if you ever have any questions, very easy to find us. Just go to our website, find your local field marketing manager, find your channel account manager. Easy to get a hold of us. Tracy?
Yes, thanks to everyone. Again, hopefully this makes sense to you, right? We're really trying to help the MSP partners that it does take more than just kind of centralized management to create a platform that's really best suited for the MSP business model. And you got to think about it from the ground up, from the way that vendors are putting it together. So that's what we hope to help you to see, and really look forward to working with you from this point out with if you're with WatchGuard already, with your account managers to really create the unified security platform for you, the one that gets you to your next goals. So that's really the next step for us. I appreciate your listening in, and hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.